A recent study says people wanting advice on rolling over 401ks to personal IRAs was up 150%, topping 760 billion with a B dollars. Nolan, what is involved in a rollover and how can it help the person that is planning for retirement?
I think, knowing your options on what to do when considering a rollover of your 401k are extremely important. And, some of the decisions that you make are tax consequences or irrevocable decisions. So you really want to, understand what your options are. The first thing is when you leave an employer, you should get something called the special tax notice. And the special tax notice is going to outline the different options that you have, or you can just Google, special tax notice on 401k rollovers and be able to read that notice online. But option number one is you can do nothing as long as your balance meets the plan requirements, traditionally $5,000 or more. There's nothing that you have to do as far as leaving your 401k. You may have to pay attention to different rules and requirements on things like what is known as required minimum distributions. But the reason why you'd maybe want to do nothing is you're happy with your investment choices. Your company 401k could also be the cheapest option. Option number two is you can transfer it to a new company 401k. So if you leave ABC company and then you go over and you start working at company XYZ, you would normally have the ability where you could take and transfer the 401k from your old company to your new 401k company. That can be easier to keep life a little bit simpler instead of having 401ks, with multiple different companies that you worked with in the past. You can consolidate them together. I can think of a individual that I met with in the past where had, 4 or 5 different 401ks over the life of working, and each 401k maybe wasn't working as hard as it could if they were put together in what is known as portfolio optimization. Some 401ks also have a loan provision. I generally advise against somebody taking a loan against their 401k. But if somebody's in a tight situation and they wanted to consider using their 401k as a loan, by having a larger balance in one 401k, could give you some loan options if that's available within your plan. Number 3 is you could cash out the 401k. This, in my opinion, is probably the worst decision to make. The reason being is not only is it fully taxable, if you're under the age of 59 and a half, it could also create a tax additional 10% penalty for being under the age of 59 and a half or 55, again, depending upon what your plan documents say. But taxes would be the biggest issue. Plus, now by cashing it out, you really have taken what's supposed to be set aside for your retirement and have used up that money. So the fourth option, which is, what was in this study, is people wanting advice on rolling over their 401k to an IRA. And that option of taking the money and rolling it to a rollover IRA, to me, the number one is it's going to give you unlimited choices. I had a particular client that wanted their money invested in something that was very safe. The problem was when we looked at her employer plan, the stable value or the cash reserve account, the interest that she was earning on it was very low. It was about 2%. In a self-directed rollover IRA, she could take that money and she could go into either a money market account, a bank CD, or a annuity, and with where rates are today, be able to have the option to get much higher rates. I had another client that was concerned about the risk overall in their target date retirement account because they had experienced some, painful declines when both stocks and bonds went down a couple of years ago, and wanted to take the fixed income part of the portfolio and move it to something more conservative. And so by taking a portion of it and moving it to something more conservative, able to give her some different choices on what's available there. You might have the desire to look at adding in individual stock positions into a portfolio. So In a self-directed IRA, usually the sky's the limits on what your choices are. You might have the choice to have somebody that helps you professionally manage it. That's what our firm, Retirement Guys Formula, does all day long with building out portfolios for clients. The potential disadvantage that you have from a rollover IRA is one, you can oftentimes have some less liquidity. So as an example, if the person took money out of their 401k and they put it in a 5-year bank CD or an annuity, if you cash in an investment like a CD or an annuity before the end of the term of the contract that you selected, you could have a penalty associated with it. Usually 401ks are fairly liquid investments. The other is you could have higher cost associated with. So if somebody hired a professional money manager as a third-party money manager or hired a registered investment advisor to build out the portfolio, you'd have the cost associated with it. So you'd kind of have to weigh those options and choices. But if you're looking for some direction and you're wondering, what advice you should get on a 401k and you're looking for some guidance, that's what we do. We can help walk you through. And what we can do is we can provide you an independent portfolio analysis. So in that independent portfolio analysis, we'll be able to take a look at what your investment choices are, and we'll be able to look at, are there ways to optimize your portfolio either by keeping it within the current 401k or considering transferring it to a self-directed IRA, and give you a guidance on, what could be in your best interest to figure out what to do with your retirement plan.
There's a multitude of options to look at there, and there's no clear-cut right or wrong answer. Well, cashing it out, probably not the ideal one, as Nolan pointed out, probably the worst choice for a lot of reasons. Beyond that, it really depends on your situation. So getting in front of the retirement guys, sitting down and speaking with them to figure out what's going to work best for you as it pertains to your retirement at the end of the day, that is what is most important. It's as simple as going to the website, setting up a time at arhq.com, or you can give a call. Do the same thing. Set up a time, 419-794-3030 for that independent portfolio analysis.